Good morning. So we're at the final day of the JSN Colloquium 2019 here at Loyola University Chicago, and I'm joined this morning by Sean Haggerty. Sean, do you want to introduce yourself?
I am a Jesuit scholastic currently at Cheverus High School and in the process of moving to our theologate at Boston College.
Nice. So this morning we had a presentation by Janet Sisler, Vice Principal for Mission Integration here at Loyola University. And Janet spoke to us about, integrating, collaborating really between on the Jesuit mission and using, I think what she said was like the Jesuit toolbox of, education and spirituality, and using that to further the Jesuit mission. And Sean, for those who weren't here at the presentation, could you tell us a little bit about what stood out for you and what struck you most?
I'd be happy to. Having Janet present to us was wonderful. Clearly someone who's been involved in both Catholic and Jesuit higher ed for a long time, and someone who really knows us well, and knows the society well, and is clearly invested in the Jesuit mission. I think the things that really stood out to me were her use of those Ignatian tools, and particularly the examine and the spiritual exercises. So how do we foster hope? How do we foster social change? I think one of her main points was that we have to start with examining ourselves and where we're at, where we're sitting, what our communities look like. And then from knowing ourselves and knowing our relationship with God, we then can move forward into something that is productive, into something that really binds us with the community. And she dovetailed so well off Greg Boyle's presentation yesterday. Yeah. So what does it mean, not what can we do for others, but how do people serve us, right? How does our engagement with others serve us in a way, help us grow closer to God, help us grow closer to the community? I also think that her knowledge of the spiritual exercises was really, as a Jesuit, it was wonderful to hear. How having that knowledge that we are loved by God, having that knowledge that we are not perfect, and integrating that into our places, which are never perfect, which are always seeking to grow, to be better, to flourish, to kind of see Janet's incorporation of that here at Loyola Chicago, and also in the other work that she does was really quite fascinating and I think hopeful.
Yeah, definitely. And I think even the title of her talk was, Incubators of Justice and Hope, which ties in very well with the theme of the colloquium, which is, building communities of hope and justice, which I thought was pretty interesting. And I love how she also spoke, she spoke about the universal apostolic preferences as well. And that's something that we had heard on the first day from Mike Gilson. And
well, I think she brought up the process of discernment. So how do we look at these four apostolic, and really if you look at higher ed and you look at secondary ed, all four of those preferences are going to work their way into all of our work. Yeah. So seeing how she approached these and the spirituality, which she covered with the examine, and the spiritual exercises, but also accompanying the youth, and then accompanying those who are poor, standing in solidarity with those who are poor. And she talked about Arupe College and what they're doing here at Loyola Chicago. And the thing that stood out is among the Latino population in Chicago, those with associate's degrees, those who enter associate programs often don't graduate, whereas Arupe, within 5 semesters, they had an 86% graduation rate. And again, I think hearkening back to Greg Boyle's point, that isn't, oh great, what have we done, but look at what our community is and look what our community has accomplished. And obviously Loyola Chicago is not the one doing the work, the students are the ones doing the work. But being able to build a community that fosters that kind of hope, and especially in places where traditionally higher education has not been something that's been accessible. In Chicago, and a vibrant immigrant city, to see first-generation Americans or migrants making it through higher ed is incredibly hopeful, and something that is, I think, kind of central to what Jesuit education should be about, which is, the uplifting of the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's probably a message that we'll all leave this colloquium with. I
think so. In further, Janet's there aren't as many Jesuits now as there were 50 years ago, and I think everybody knows that. And so, what does it mean to have lay collaborators? Well, I think Janet was really one of those persons who, this is what lay collaboration looks like, someone who owns the mission, who carries the mission. Yeah. I'd venture to say that she probably knows the mission better than I do, because certainly she's had more experience. I've been teaching for a couple of years. Janet's been teaching for over 40.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things which gave me a tremendous amount of hope to see how the Jesuit mission is really carried forward by non-Jesuits in a wonderful and robust way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something very inspiring to leave this colloquium with.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you.